We'll call this meeting to order. I'd ask our superintendent to lead us in an invocation and pledge.
If you'll bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, as we come to you, we always come to you just humbly and asking for your guidance and your wisdom. Lord, as we get to celebrate young men and women that have done amazing things, staff that have worked countless hours with students, we're thankful, Lord. We're thankful for the blessing of our students. We're thankful for the blessing of our staffs. Lord, I ask that you just be and pray over every one of our schools, our students, and our staff as we begin next week. We know teachers are hard and staff are hard at work, and we just thank you. We thank you for people having a calling to love our children, to educate them. But we also just are thankful that we live in Levy County. We're thankful for that blessing. We ask that we always turn and we focus on you, Lord. We ask all these things in your name we pray. Amen. Amen. If you'll address the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Seeing none, I will accept the motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll make the motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'd like to welcome all the visitors here tonight. Much smaller crowd than the last one that we had. If you were here, you'd understand that. This time, anybody here that has a non-agenda item they'd like to bring before the school board, I think everybody here has a purpose of being here. All right, we getting emails or anything like that?
No,
All right, so seeing that, we will move ahead. I will go ahead and let you know we're going to take a 5-minute break at the end of this presentation, and anyone that needs to go home can go home, except school board employees. They must stay for the entire meeting. So if you are an employee, stay with us, even retired employees. All right, so I'll turn it over to our superintendent for a special presentation tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as I look out amongst the crowd, so we are thankful. We're thankful that you're here, and it's a pretty humbling and amazing sight. I've had the opportunity as a student to travel off to national convention. I never went to state convention, but this year, and as a board member, had the opportunity to go several times, and this year was none other. And we're excited tonight that we get to celebrate just the amazing accomplishments and a lot of hard work, a lot of life lessons learned. And as we know that our FSA scores and EOC scores and school grades are coming out and those type of things, and we want to be academically, we want to elevate Levy County. But one of the things that's truly amazing to me and humbling is the lessons and the education that comes along with being a member of an FFA chapter. And there's a lot of people here in this room that have poured countless hours, your parents, your grandparents, your advisors, parents, spouses of ag advisors. I thank you. I thank you very, very much. What I'd like to do tonight is we're going to start with Bronson, and I'm going to call Ms. Smith and Mr. Barber to come to the podium and introduce who we have here. And then we'll take a quick photo of Bronson, and then we'll go Chiefland and Williston. And then at the end, I'd like us to go outside, and I'd like to take a group photo of all of our kids. Because I think when you see this is a true representation of Levy County and the excellence that comes. And I'm thankful for each and every one of you. So Mr. Barber and Ms. Smith, would y'all come forward, please?
I didn't know Mr. Coward was going to put me on the spot and make me remember all the things that we had done. So we'll try. So first of all, let's recognize Emily Munden. I guess you wanted to come down front.
I do.
Emily was a State Star finalist in agribusiness placement, one of 4 State Star finalists there, and she also won the state proficiency in ag sales and service. So congratulations to Emily. And then I will also say Emily served as our Bronson FFA chapter president last year, and Bronson FFA senior FFA was a premier chapter winner and a national chapter award winner. And so we were real pleased with that as well. Then the other thing that Bronson Senior had was the Belinda B. Chasen Award, which again, that was a lot due to Emily's leadership as FFA president. That award's only given to one high school and one middle school FFA chapter in the whole state of Florida. So we were very pleased to receive that award as well. Otherwise, let's see, we had a state finalist in the Agri-Science Fair in the area of social sciences. Shelby Strickland and her partner was Andrea Horton. Andrea is not here with us tonight. She's on vacation this week. But Shelby and Andrea did a science fair project on what effects the COVID-19 pandemic have on FFA participation in Florida last year, over last school year. And they won first place in their division. Oh, he's got that one.
Gotcha.
We did have a state finalist also in Justin Strickland. Justin's not here with us tonight because he's serving in the U.S. military. He left. Convention was over on a Friday. Justin left on a Monday morning, I believe, directly after convention. So he was a finalist in small animal care.
And so for Bronson Middle School, we also were the premier chapter this year. And then our award, I'm going to call Madison and Haley up. So they also participated in the science fair, and just quick story about them and that. So, you know, the science fair is a pretty daunting task, especially if you don't know what all it entails. And as a seventh grader, when Miss Smith roped them into that, it was, why? At first they were like, sure, Miss Smith, we'd love to do it. You know, we get to go to state convention, we get to compete. And then she handed them, a book and was like, well, this is what you got to do. So it was fun for them. And they also placed first in their division, which was social science. And they did theirs on consumer perceptions of food labels. So, terms that are on food labels that consumers don't always know the exact meaning of. They did some research on that to find out what consumers really thought. So they did win first place, and we're waiting to hear back on both teams whether we get to go to national convention. So they picked the top 15 from all the states. So we're waiting to hear back from that. Hopefully we'll get to go to national convention with both of our science fair projects.
So, Mr. Asbell.
Why don't you come up, Mr. Superintendent? As a school board member, I'm a strong supporter of the FFA of Bronson, but I didn't actually do any of this, so I'm getting my picture here. I'm gonna take credit. This one's going to ABAC. You leave like what, 2 days? Friday. She's not only going to go to ABAC, she's going to graduate from ABAC. And going to go into the agricultural field and be awesome as she already is, right?
Congratulations, Ms. Strickland. Mr. Detloff, Mr. Locke.
Mr. Coward, can I interrupt just a second?
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot, Shelby won one of the alumni essays also for 5 people in the state, so congratulations.
And she's one heck of an ad salesman as a journalism, so I tell you.
For Achievement Middle, we had quite a few honors and recognitions at state convention as well. We'll start with the premier chapter. For the entire chapter, we were selected as that. We also had 2 teams that placed first in the state. The first team was horse judging, and members of that team include Riley Locke, Savannah Bastow, Mackenzie Fisher, and Ari Grant. And Riley Locke was actually the high point individual for that contest in the state. Following that, we had the poultry judging team, which also placed first, and that includes Dana Hinkle, Jolene Watkins, Luke Watkins, and J.R. Hudson. And in that contest, Jolene was the high point individual for the state. Individually at state convention, Riley Locke competed in the prepared public speaking event where she went through 2 different rounds and had to give her speech in front of judges in both of those rounds and various people, and actually came out as first in the state for that contest as well. We also had a individual who was recognized as a top 5 middle school alumni essay, and that was Ari Grant.
And for the high school, we were also a premier chapter, as well as us and the middle school. Both were 100% membership from the number of students enrolled in our agriculture courses, 100% membership within the FFA. We had a handful of proficiency finalists and winners this year. We had a finalist, Hannah Quincy. She's not back from her college class, but she was a Ag Ed proficiency finalist for. It was in charge of our Fun Day on the Farm, where the kindergartners come over and learn about agriculture. And so she was a finalist in that area. We have Mr. Cade Meeks. He was a finalist in ag repair and maintenance and forages, and he won the diversified crop production. He was also a finalist as a State Star Green Hand. Mr. Sam Mills, he was a beef entrepreneurship finalist, a forage finalist, and wildlife finalist, and he won this was his final year to be able to compete, and he's been able to win a state finals, or he's won a proficiency award every year of his high school career, and then finally this year, beyond his high school career, he was a finalist in forestry and forest products. And then Mr. Hunter Sharp was also filled out a handful of proficiency awards this year. He was a finalist as a beef placement in diversified ag, goat production, poultry production, and he won the equine placement proficiency award area. And he was also a finalist for State Star Green Hand and was our Florida State Star Green Hand. We also had 2 state degree recipients this year, Molly Beecham and Jake Klein. They were our state star or state degree recipients this year.
The Chief One FFA chapters were also recognized as the outstanding middle or secondary program for the Florida Association of Agriculture Educators as well.
Awesome. Come on, Ms. Perkins.
I have a question.
Yes,
sir.
Why ain't Locke wearing one of them fancy suits I've seen? We're not worthy of the suit?
Yeah.
When you come back, I expect to see one of those
All right,
suits.
we'll do it. We'll do it. Okay, we were also.
Sharp.
I think we're also to let us know that we got a couple of these other boys, Mr. Aswell, that are got to hurry up and get back to football practice.
I'm sure.
Oh, well.
Help from Coach Gore.
Sharp's tearing up the desk over here.
Ms. Fisher, pass down. Always good to see you. I was getting ready to save that one, so I'm saving that for graduation. Mr. Hicks. I'm saving that one for graduation. All right. Now, Miss Cooey, so would you come on up? And while Miss Cooey, you're also coming up, so we're also pleasured that we have a brand new advisor. So Miss Harris. So Miss Harris is going to come join us here. So we're welcoming Miss Harris to Williston Middle High School. So.
Yeah, so like Mr. Cowart said, we were very excited that Regina Harris has come over from Marion County and is joining our program this school year. I know she's excited to be in Levy County as well, so we welcome her to Williston. We have quite a few students that weren't able to attend, so I'll go over some of their achievements first. As a chapter, the middle school chapter won the 100% membership award which like Mr. Lott said, the number of FFA members in our chapter was equal or greater than the number of students enrolled in our program. We also received the Premier Chapter Award. As a middle school chapter, we had Savannah Geralds, who is not able to attend tonight. She was a finalist for the State Star Discovery degree, and she won that award, which is really cool because they picked the top 4 middle school students in the state of Florida to discuss their FFA participation in their SAE projects, and she won that award. She was also a finalist for the Future Steer Proficiency, which is really cool for a middle schooler to win, even to be a finalist in those categories. So our kids that are here, we had the state-winning middle school livestock judging team. So if they will come up first, Lane Whitehurst, Layla Hobby, Carly Bellamy, and Reagan Hancock. You guys come this way a little bit together. And I want to brag on them for just a second. And I know that the other students at other schools that win state championships work just as hard, but I have never seen a livestock team work this hard and this many hours a week to get their state championship. They would come in on days that were not scheduled for practice and just show up and say, hey, we're practicing today. So I'd unlock my door and they would run practices on their own. If I had to go to morning duty or I had other things to do, they were determined to win the state championship. So I'm extremely proud of them and their accomplishments. Our meat judging team that was not able to attend tonight won second in the state. So we are going hardcore for a state championship this year. All those kids come back. So they too were a very determined team. Like I said, they're not able to attend tonight. The next contest was OH demos. And so Reagan, who's already up here, was one of those team members. And then we have, come on up, Annabelle Whitehurst was her partner. They were in the artistic arrangement division. And I told them I was going to put them on the spot. They're going to give us like a 30-second synopsis of what their project was.
So our project was on making a floral arch. It was an ornamental horticulture demonstration.
So they built like a mini arch, and then they had a full-size arch, and that contest was virtual like a lot of the other contests this year. They did a really good job. They took the floral arrangements and they put them together in front of the camera and then placed it on the live arch. They worked really hard again too. The kids are really determined. There was a lot of cuts. One of the benefits of having a virtual contest that we had to submit a video. We made that video like 100 times. So they did really well with that contest. For our junior chapter, which is the 9th grade group, we had a finalist for Creed speaking. She had volleyball tonight, so wasn't able to attend. But Grace Dola finished 3rd in Creed speaking. And then for our senior chapter, Sarah Dykstra was a finalist in the specialty animal proficiency area. Sarah has bees and beehives that she and her father worked together. And then when he passed away this year, she continued on their business. And Tori Mills, who I thought was, I don't know, she's in the hallway. She was a finalist for the Ag Services Proficiency area, and she won that division at State Convention. Our alumni was also recognized at State Convention as an outstanding alumni affiliate. They placed 2nd in the state. And then 2 of our alumni members, Camille Thompson and Emily King, were both given the Blue and Gold Award by Florida FFA. That's it.
All right. Come on, Mr. Etheridge.
Yes. The team members.
Slide down, Ms. Holly. Gotta hide your baby here. Thank you all very, very much. Hancock, you didn't want to shake my hand? All believe that covers everybody that we have here tonight. So while I got you all, so I also want to just say a wonderful plug. Miss Whitehurst is here. So, and we had new employee orientation today. So, and our foundation provided pizza for our new employees. And she always does such a jam up job. So doing all the arts and crafty things, so to make things look really, really amazing. So just appreciate her being here and all she does for our students and our staff.
Yeah, Mr. Cowart.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess, and you school board employees that need to go, keep going. We'll call this meeting back to order. We'll turn it over to Miss Kim Lake.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I gotta figure out what I'm doing and somebody would be so kind enough to put my presentation up. Your friend. See how that happens, John?
When you control the money, people do things for
Good
you.
today. You'd be surprised how little control I take.
That's true.
So tonight, we're here to adopt the tentative millage and budget. And then September 9th will be our adoption of our final millage and budget. All right, so this is the first of 2 public hearings on the subject. I'm not sure if we have any public here, but this means any member of the public can ask questions throughout this process.
We have one left. We have one left.
All right, you can go to the next one. All right, truth and millage. So you guys have this little packet. So this is just a snippet from the bottom. This is for Miss Tammy, since you've all heard it so many times, just bear with me. But truth and millage is the first thing we're going to discuss and settle on and adopt the tentative millage rate for this fiscal year. The tentative rate that is being proposed is 3.627. So I've included the certified taxable value. You'll see that on line 4. Line 16 is the required local effort, or RLE, of 3.627. So how is the RLE set? The Department of Revenue provides the Commissioner of Education with its most recent property assessment level for the prior year's assessment roll. And we use the certified tax roll, or the Commissioner does, to compute and certify the RLE for each district. And that rate becomes the district certified required local effort millage. The district is required local effort in this amount. The district required local effort is the amount each district must provide to participate in the FEFP, and this amount is set by the legislature, as are the millage rates. So you'll notice that our RLE is lower this year than when compared to last year, which is on line 9, but it's higher than line 14, and that's the rollback rate. So we had to advertise for a tax increase. The rollback rate is the rate that would generate the same amount of property tax revenues as approved for the prior year. And when the tax base increases like this year, the rollback rate is less than the prior year's rate. So this just means the tax value has increased. With this RLE, we would receive more in local taxes when compared to last year, but the local tax rate did not increase. So again, we're proposing a tentative millage rate of 3.627. Are there any questions? Go to the next.
No one has any questions, we are seeking a motion to approve the tentative millage rate.
Just that's 5.87 total, right?
Yes, so that would,
What was it a year ago?
a year ago, I don't have that on me, but the only difference would have been the required local.
3.739. So if you take and substitute 3.739. and
So the
place it
rollback rate of 0.20954.
That's
It's like
the difference.
6.12 or something like that last year, the total rate.
So our advertised millage rate will be less than a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay, with a higher value rate.
Because of the taxable value going up. That's why we had to advertise for a tax increase. Yes, sir.
I move to accept the millage rate.
The second.
All right, we have a motion before us to approve the tentative millage rate as follows and adopt the tentative millage rate resolution 22-01 with a required local effort 3.6270, basic discretionary operating of 0.7480, capital outlay 1.50 for a total millage of 5.8750. This total millage reflects a positive change of 5.32 of current year's total proposed rate. That's a percent change of the rollback rate as found on line 22 of the school's taxable value. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please continue, Mrs. Lake.
Now I will talk to Mr. Etheridge because he wasn't here for the budget.
We're gonna talk about concerns. I've already read it.
Okay, so we're gonna move forward to adopt the tentative budget for this year. And these are some concerns and challenges we will face throughout this year and the coming years. We've talked about a lot of these, but I'll just go over them quickly again. So of course, we're worried about decreased enrollment or loss in FTE or unfunded increases in FTE. So in other words, if we do have an increase in student population, increase in FTE, we may not recover that increase through FEFP with our third calculation, depending on if there's a proration or not, a mid-year budget cut with proration. We also have the increase in scholarships, so the loss of revenue due to McKay and family empowerment vouchers. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We're going to estimate that at a loss of $1.2 million. And we now have to factor in the impact or try to of Gardner. The Gardner scholarship was was brought into that FES umbrella. We also have implementation of Amendment 2 or the minimum wage increases as we move towards 2026 to $15 minimum wage. And then of course the continued increase in FRS. I think last year was about $400,000. This year, this budget looks like another $200,000 increase with the increase in FRS. And of course, health insurance and insurance costs continue to rise. And we have the new construction of Tufla Middle High School that we have to balance for the next 2 years.
So I'm gonna ask a question. So we've got allocated funding for the new construction. So what would be the concern? Just cash flow?
Cash flow is one, and also by statute, we're able to recover some maintenance expenditures that come out of the general fund. We're able to recover those from capital dollars to the tune of between $400,000 and $800,000 a year. So those will not be able to be recovered through the general fund for the next 2 years, or at least a smaller portion of them. So that's why that fund balance, that healthy fund balance, is very important in the general fund. We're not able to recover some of those expenditures.
I was just trying to look for the good and the bad.
That's pretty much the 2 areas that hit the general fund.
Thank you.
So this is just a breakdown by revenue source. So this is this year's budget, general fund 21-22. So you can see the revenues compared to 2021, and you'll see the state funding is decreasing and total local funding is increasing slightly. So we'll kind of walk through that. We're going to show a net state FEFP decrease of almost $400,000. Total state funding decrease of a little over $900,000, and that includes a decrease in class size reduction funds of over $500,000. And then when you factor in your estimated increase in scholarships of roughly $200,000, so that's a loss to the district as well. We're looking at about a little over $1.1 million decrease in total state funding. So this is based on the second calculation. That could change for the third, but this is how we build our budgets on the second.
On a percentage, what would that be? 1%? Less
Yeah,
than
about
1%?
$45 million. Well, our state funding is about 33 million.
Okay,
20,
but not our total budget.
right. Actually, I can tell you what our state funding is.
So our proposed budget's 100.
Yes. So this loss is 1.1 million is state funding, and our state funding is at 27.9 million. quick look at the scholarships and why this is a real challenge that we have. So you can see in 17-18, we only had McKay to contend with. It was a little over 500,000 lost. So this loss occurs in the third calculation. So our funding is decreased by the McKay scholarships and FES scholarships from January to June. So you're running on I budget this reduction, but you're running on the revenues are coming in and then they come off the last 2 quarters of the year when we have true numbers for this with the second count and third calculation. So 18-19, McKay went down a little bit, a little over almost 515,000. Then 19-20 in came FES, and we weren't real sure what that was going to look like that year, but that was 250. McKay dipped a little bit more because McKay students moved to FES, we think, and that was about 713 total lost that year. 2021, so again, you're seeing McKay decline as FES increases, and we lost a little over $1 million last year in those scholarships. So that is a 41% increase over 19-20, from 2021 to 19-20, and FES grew over 2 times the amount it was in 19-20. We don't see that really slowing because I do believe that language is written to encourage an increase. We are projecting again 1.2 million, which that was just a best guess. It could be more. And now we don't know the impact of the Gardner Scholarship, but House Bill 7045 took the Gardner Scholarship and combined it with McKay and FES. So the Gardner Scholarship is pretty narrow in who it includes. So it's students with special needs, specifically students with profound disabilities. So those would be like our 255 probably students. So what's going to happen now? I can't budget for that because we don't have any idea of how many Levy County students are currently in the Gardner. So because it used to be handled outside the FEFP. So once we start accounting for that, it's going to shift over and you're going to see those counts rise and that revenue be reduced for those scholarships as well the second half of the year. Anybody have any questions? So here's where our local funding increase. So our local funding is coming in and it's increasing a little over almost 700,000. And that is that increase in the taxable value now based on the 3.627. So when you factor that against the $1.1 million loss, what we're looking at is a total state and local funding decrease of a little over 450. Does anybody have any questions about revenues? So we'll talk for a minute about expenditures. This is just a graph to show you the general fund expenditures, what object code categories where our expenditures are going. The majority, of course, are going to salaries and benefits at 79% of our budget. Followed up with purchase services, so contracted services have grown over the last few years. Material supplies, energy, and then other expenditures, so that's where your subs and travel type expenditures would sit. These are based on all the numbers I gave you last board meeting, but they're just shown in a little bit of a different way. All right, so these are those same expenditures that were in the pie graph by object, but now I'm showing them to you by function. So by function, it's showing you that the majority of our expenditures are going to instruction, and you're seeing the increase in expenditures is under the instruction category. So you can kind of see those pupil personnel services are things like PD, instruction and curriculum. And then, of course, school administration is a big one, operation of plant and transportation. And this is just a graph of the function. And I took a couple of those function categories and grouped them together to kind of show you where the majority of our expenditures are going to direct student instruction. So classroom instruction is where 55% of these expenditures are going. So this is the general fund budget. This is showing you cumulatively the revenues and the expenditures and the balance that we expect to be left, the fund balance we expect at the end of 21-22. So you can see the beginning fund balance is a little over almost 9.3 million, and you can see we end with 8.3. So we are eroding that fund balance some. But those differences are mainly coming from our assigned fund balance, where we have instructional materials. We have certain items that have been assigned for expenditures. So then I take that fund balance down and I break it down and show you what's restricted. Restricted usually has some statute requirements, so you can't touch those monies. Assigned is assigned at management level, so it could be reassigned, but that's where your schoolhouse budgets sit. That's where your instructional materials, certain assigned expenditures, and then you have the unassigned. So the unassigned, I broke that down even further to shave off the 5% financial condition ratio requirement and show you the unassigned after the 5%. Now again, would be the end of next school year. So there's a lot of time and a lot of things can happen between there, but we like to look at where that budget could possibly end. And what that is 7% unassigned, essentially. And we all know that the fund balance is important. That does protect the district and staff against unforeseen events.
I don't believe I've ever seen a budget that we've built with a 17% financial condition ratio.
Projected.
I don't, we've never projected one.
I hope it's there, but yes.
We'll have a better shot being there if we project it versus us projecting 5 and 6% as we have in the past.
Yes.
Just my opinion. Am I allowed to do that, Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. So this is a capital fund. So this is not capital expenditures in the general fund. This is a whole different fund we're going to talk about. So this is what has the special facilities funding. This year it is going to be 2 years in one, so a little over 24 million, almost 25. It's important to note that this year's payback is at 1.5. It's 3.6 million. We have to pay back our complete 1.5 for 3 years, but statute requires we only budget up to 1 mil as payback. So we budgeted 2.4. We very quickly erode the remaining 0.5 through debt services, some day-to-day operations for maintenance, which we cannot support on this budget fully. And that's pretty much it that flows through there. Does anybody have any questions about the capital budget? So the next one is food service. And this one, Mr. Etheridge, we were very happy that that fund balance is declining.
Mm-hmm.
Because the food service has a requirement they can only hold, I think it's like 3 months average revenue in their fund balance. So for 2 years now, we've had Department of Ag telling us, how are you going to spend it? When are you going to spend it down? It's too high. Spend it, spend it, spend it. So she's got some expenditures planned, and we should be able to get that fund balance down. For the last 2 years, she has been able to give indirect costs back to the general fund. The general fund supports no part of the food service. And this year, she took on her own maintenance employee and is cost sharing a maintenance employee with the maintenance department. And she purchases all her own beef.
You can buy more beef. It's expensive right now. Just a little.
We're very, very happy with our food service. All right, federal title programs. This would be all your traditional federal programs you're used to hearing about. This is your Title I's, Title Jerry can do it better than me, but a whole bunch of title programs. Revenues and expenditures have to match. That does not mean that's what the award is. It's just, you can only pull in revenues what you've expended. It will never exceed. And there's a lot more budgets to add to this one, so your final budget will be higher for federal. The next one is ESSER 1 as in gear. This does not reflect ESSER 2 or 3. We don't have any numbers on ESSER 3. ESSER 2 budget has not been submitted or approved. If it is before the final budget, it will be added. But for now, this is just the remainder of our ESSER, our original CARES funding. And it is separate because it's actually a separate fund. All right, this is debt service. These are our two. We have COPS payments of a little over $666,000. That's what comes from that LCIF money, those 1.5 mil. And then the other is our racetrack debt service. This is self-insurance. This is where we run our health insurance through CARES. My health. And I'm happy to say we are budgeting for a $100,000 permanent transfer, but we have not had to do a permanent transfer for 2 years now, and that is even with the board's gracious taking up the health insurance costs for the last 2 years. The increases have been borne by the board. So essentially, everything I just went through is in this budget summary by fund. You also have in your little handout, you have a narrative, and the narrative reads to the summary. So you've already approved the millage rate of 3.627. So the total millage of 5.875, and the budget totals roughly 115 million. And it was advertised in the newspaper for the purpose of this hearing. So are there any questions before we would hear a motion to adopt?
That would be our largest budget in history.
I think it was only 110 last year.
Yes, sir.
I just remember the comment from the reporter last year, and that partly driven by,
25 million.
Yes.
just for the record.
Yes, I'm glad you, because I did want to point that out, that our expenditures have only grown by 1%, and those will be our operating.
We should, at the end of the project, the chief would see a decline in our total budget, I would suspect,
Yes, sir.
just for the record.
I move to approve the tentative budget and adopt the resolution 2202 to adopt the tentative budget.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions? Any further comment?
Just thank you. It's like you did such a good job last meeting and this meeting. Thoroughly, I have full confidence in you.
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Lake.
She's from Boston.
She is from Boston. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Etheridge.
I knew it was coming, I was just picking.
I was holding back tonight. You know,
Mr. Chair, and Mr. Lott is under the weather, so it's not here. So item F is just purely for comments, so we haven't had any public comment, so we've got till the 24th to adopt, but just your opportunity if you have any. So once again, it was driven by a change in statute signed by the governor.
So you're talking about 3.09 is
Yes,
the
sir.
change in the.
Yes, sir. So all it did was a change from may, and we struck out may to shall, because it's now, we will be doing that.
thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Has everyone had you're still on the
So
thing. Stay with it. Stay
Yes,
with
sir.
it.
So the Small School District Council Consortium, so we've been a member for as long as I've been on the board, and I would say Ms. Brookins could speak to maybe the length, so, but this program and this group really helps us with lobbying efforts, so because it bands together the 27 rural districts, so those school districts that have less than 10,000 students, gives us an opportunity to kind of have a much larger voice, so.
So that I understand the organization, is that Who is the?
Mr.
Chris Doolin,
Chris Doolin, so, yes, sir.
all the emails.
And the price, the continued price, that's $3,250, which is the same price as 1920, so no increase in dues.
So I'm looking for a motion that we can.
I make the motion to approve. A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion, questions, comments?
I appreciate the work Mr. Dooling does on our behalf for the money we spend.
Yeah.
He does do a lot for us, so between the breakfast that we have at our conference and also the day in the legislature where he brings you together, so, and kind of does a really good job of breaking down the narrative of how things are affecting our rural, small rurals. So,
If we got that by the email, it's very cheap.
yes, sir.
Yes, it is. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, are there any changes to the minutes?
Mr. Chairman.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting?
Yes, sir.
So I will entertain a motion to approve said minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We now move into our consent agenda. I will start tonight with BA Boyle down there on the end. Any questions, comments, concerns on the consent agenda or the addition to the consent agenda?
No, sir, I've spoken to Mr. Howard and all my questions have been answered.
Excellent. Mrs. Brookings.
Mr. Cowart is extremely thorough and answers all our questions. Answered mine very well, thank you.
Mr. Etheridge.
Just a comment.
Thank you. Thank you. If it had gone to the end to me, I was going to come up with something.
Just a comment. It's always interesting to me, the moves and shakes right before we start school again. And I don't know what drives that, and I'm sure, but it always is interesting to me. But kudos to administration for the hires that have happened. I'm not going to say last minute, but there's been a lot of work to get a lot of positions filled between the end of school last year. Well, how many do we have open?
We have 10 teacher slots open, 7 aides, 4 custodians, 1 LPN, and 3 through KP. And there are some leads on some of those, but they just haven't been posted.
That's less than last year going into school.
And I think the admin is working, they're working so hard, they're doing a great job.
Mr. Asbell, that's all the comments I had or questions.
I don't have any, my questions were answered too.
Please do not come in and say Howard's doing a good job. He's efficient. Okay. Now, gosh, dog, I hate to say something good about him too, but this is probably not proper, but I'm going to bring it up. The addition to consent agenda, if we will look down there under employee status changes, I want to point something out. Number 33. This young man was accused of something and was proven not to do it. But a lesser man than our superintendent would have partially judged and never gone so far as he did to give this young man a second chance. And I think that speaks volumes for you, Mr. Coward. Dang, he's efficient and kind and wonderful. And he's married to a wonderful, supportive woman who, as I pointed out at the last meeting, was very wonderful, and it was her birthday. That's twice, so she owes me. All right. There's no further discussion on the agenda, the consent agenda. I will accept the motion.
Make the motion to approve. Okay.
Second. Motion and a second. Do any further discussion, any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, your comments.
Yes, sir. So just 3 things. It's that time of year where there's a lot of trainings going on. So first off, so Dr. Hall had an excellent ESC and student services back to school training last Thursday. And it was Dr. Ben Springer, a guy, a fellow out of Utah that spoke. Just was a really, really wonderful event. And it was virtual, but we had, at one point in time, I think I saw about 90 people, it seemed like, on there.
100 participants.
So,
But we don't have board members.
so we did. Miss Boyle was on there. So, but just kudos to Dr. Hall and Miss Marcy and Miss Laura, Rhoda, Crystal, Dottie, and Miss Ethel. So for putting on that event. And then on Monday, we had a school improvement day, and we did something a little different. So, and the ladies in the back, here really spearheaded it. So Miss Lewis, so Miss Rollins, Miss Jerry Ford, Miss Michelle Ruiz, and Miss Taylor. And we brought our secondary teachers together and broke them down by content. That way they could plan together, so they didn't have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. And those new teachers could feel some support. And I'm just really, really appreciative of the effort that's going for us to try and make sure our staff feel like they're being supported from the top down. So, because we know they're in the trenches with our students. So, and then today, Ms. Hires had our new employee orientation. So, and as you can see with all the effort that goes through here, so Miss Marla and Kaylee, Mandy, Tammy, Miss Lori, and then even Miss Sherry went over and provided badges for our new employees that didn't have new badges yet. So just appreciate the effort, and obviously our foundation supporting them and providing lunch for them. So lots of moving pieces going on. So, and obviously Miss Lake bringing us in for landing on the tentative budget and millage rate. So there's a lot of work going on here behind the scenes to get ready for next Tuesday, and we're excited and looking forward. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cowart. We'll start here with you, Ms. Clemency. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Mr. Cowart said, a lot going on. I was in Yankeetown this morning for their staff meeting where a lot of the new teachers got to meet Miss Westfall for the first time. So I actually took a picture because it was interesting. There is a new science and ag teacher, a new 5th grade teacher, a new 4th grade teacher, a new media teacher. Williston lost a good one with McBride, a good math, and her scores, I believe, proved that. A new math teacher, administrative assistant, a new ESE pair. There's just a lot of movement. I think one was hired last night, and Dee said, can you get to the meeting tomorrow? So she came in a little bit. It's just, I think we're down to one vacancy, 1st grade, and there's a maybe, right?
Some shifting around.
Yeah, we have a plan.
So there's a plan that they can start. There'll be a teacher in every room. And
Yeah.
She's done a great job.
Yes, I have a great feeling about this year. I mean, just the whole vibe in the room this morning, it's just positive and exciting, and Yankeetown's gonna do good things, and we're trying to get some programs that other schools have at Yankeetown, like maybe ROTC, maybe, I think one of the new teachers was a music teacher. So that would be great, maybe. So just a lot of exciting things going on at Yankeetown. So.
I don't have a lot. Sure seemed like summer went by very fast.
Yes.
And,
Yes, sir.
I don't know, it's odd. It's odd times for us or our families, and I appreciate the time. I missed the past 2 meetings in fear of affecting my fellow members. But appreciate the thoughts and prayers of families and employees, and are in a lot better condition now. And I apologize for my absence and the time where I needed to be here. But for the first time in 26 years, we're not going to have a child going to school next week. It's kind of odd for us. So as we'll find a different way to stay connected, because we've stayed connected through the school and the vibe of what was going on for our children. And I think you might be in some other that situation.
I still got one. And he really thought summer was short.
Yeah. But I think I try to say it every single year. I'm still amazed every single time that you all make this happen. It's a miracle that school happens to me. It's a miracle that at 5 o'clock in the morning, buses dispatch and pick all these kids up, take them to school, feed some of them twice, educate them in 6 or 7 hours, and deliver them home back to their parents in time to eat dinner. And it's a miracle that it does it, and pretty much flawlessly every day. And kudos to everybody who is a part. And I know a lot of that happens because of all the planning you all been doing over the past couple of months in the summer while everybody else was at the beach, including myself. That's it, Mr. McCall.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
I spent the day down in Cedar Key as well with their welcome back. And Mrs. Lawrence did a really neat job. She told me today that she carried forward what Mr. Flint did. Everybody provides a picture of what they did over the summer, and they have a little slideshow, and they have breakfast. And it was very upbeat. Met the new teachers that are coming on board down there, and it was just a great day. A great day to be around that crew. They're excited. They're very excited. Have a lot of ideas. And that's really all that's going on. Thank you for everything that the district is doing, because it is a lot of work behind the scenes. And I see the Facebook post at 11:19 p.m.
The only thing, just a reminder that the Rossville High School football team has a golf tournament this weekend at Chieftain Golf and Country Club. Anybody's a golfer, point that out. I also encourage y'all to keep supporting our schools. We're doing a great job. It's amazing. And if you want to see how good Levy County is, just sort of look that direction. I won't call it counting out, but it's really amazing how good us old redneck podunk boys from little old Levy County do upside that wealthy, well-educated county that's a little that way from us. I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to say I'm part of this bunch and not part of that bunch. Other than that, I really don't have anything else. And if there isn't any of our business, we can adjourn.